Welcome, Tim.
Ora mai. Tēnā koutou ngā karangatanga maha te motu, and greetings to the committee and acknowledgements of all the submitters that I've been listening to today. Thank you for the privilege to address you today. We regret that there's only 30 hours for oral submissions to be heard. A bill with such constitutional impact as this needs more thorough scrutiny. To clarify for the Minister, I'm not a bot. I'm Tim Howard of the Northland Urban Rural Mission, a church and community collective that has worked for social justice, community development and Te Tiriti justice since the early 1980s. Parliament has 3 times rejected the regulatory standards bill's predecessors. The proposing minister has not taken on board substantial critiques of what might be called his pet project. He is closed-minded about the rejection of the bill by the Waitangi Tribunal, legal experts, academics, Māori, the public, and even his own ministry's officials. We, however, ask that the Select Committee recommend that this bill be withdrawn and that New Zealand First be consistent and vote against the bill. The bill is unnecessary. We note that the Legislation Design and Advisory Committee, the law experts, if lawmaking experts, stated that there were already mechanisms in place to oversee the lawmaking process, and though these mechanisms could perhaps be strengthened, a new law was not needed. And they criticised the specific principles in the bill, calling them selective and deeply contestable. We note that no evidence of the size of the problem to justify the bill's aim to reduce regulation is provided. The bill is unnecessary. What stands out in the bill is its silence about Te Tiriti o Waitangi and the principles of the treaty. That silence is deafening. It treats Te Tiriti as a nullity, just as Justice Prendergast did in 1877. We submit that any significant constitutional legislation must source its validity in Te Tiriti itself and its values. The bill's absence of reference to Te Tiriti o Waitangi and its principles serves to reinforce the worst of colonising policies and gives power to new policies overtaking tangata whenua again. The principles of the treaty are also conspicuous by their absence. These principles are now more closely approximate to Te Tiriti o Waitangi that the rangatira of 1840 signed. Rangatiratanga, manakitanga, kaitiakitanga, equity, partnership and more. Excluding Te Tiriti and its principles and leaving regulatory decision-making to the Minister and the Regulatory Standards Board, guided by limited libertarian principles, serves to strengthen colonial structures controlling Māori communities. The bill is an exercise in denial, ignoring the substantial historical injustices against Māori, while at the same time disempowering any attempts at affirmative action to offer redress for those injustices. It has the effect that moves supporting rangatiratanga are left open to subsequent challenging by corporates, and tangata whenua be forced to pay again for the expropriation that they've already suffered. With others, we say, toi tu te tiriti. This bill overthrows a number of our constitutional arrangements. The bill removes the legitimate constitutional role of Te Tiriti, just as the ill-fated principles of the treaty bill attempted to do. It purports to narrow down lawmaking to a few libertarian principles. In effect, it sets itself up as a parent law, overseeing other parliamentary lawmaking, and centralises increased power to the executive and primarily to the Minister for Regulation. For example, it is the Minister of Regulation who would be empowered by this bill to call for investigations and to issue guidelines on how the principles will be interpreted. The Minister is all-powerful, backed by a hand-picked statutory standards board, mainly economists, which interferes with the work of MPs who are elected and accountable. The current important work of the Regulations Review Committee is ignored in the policy work supporting this bill. The bill's extreme simplicity overrides the checks and balances essential to a functioning democracy. For example, the bill's principles are structured so that they're not able to be addressed by the courts, thus cutting against the constitutional principle of the separation of powers. The bill also weakens the basic principle in our Constitution of ministerial responsibility, as it seeks to empower the Minister for Regulation alone. Overall, the bill is constitutionally deficient and should be rejected on those grounds. The principles cited in Clause 8 in the bill may each have some justification individually. However, they are a very limited cohort of principles, are reflections of the values of the ACT Party and their fellow travellers. They are, to quote, selective and deeply contestable. These principles are individualistic, favouring corporate and property rights, and omit a number of principles that must be seen as essential to good lawmaking. There are a number of principles that are not in the bill. These include the treaty Waitangi and the principles of the treaty, the public harm principle, principles of distributive justice, where the basic needs of all people are met, protection of the right to a clean, healthy and sustainable environment, and the principle that the government is obliged to follow its international legal obligations. These and many more are not included in the principles in Clause 8. The bill's narrow principles omit so much. Embedding any political direction, especially this neoliberal direction, into wide-ranging legislation like this bill is simply wrong. Coupled with the powers proposed for the Standards Board and the Minister, these principles lead to a dangerously narrow focus for all lawmaking. They lead to poor lawmaking. Finally, with its emphasis on property rights and individualism, the bill will likely give significant power to corporations and to wealthy individuals to pressure government not to be addressing the needs of mana whenua and communities and of the environment. It also leaves government, iwi and hapu, NGOs and communities liable to legal attacks as soon as corporates have any perception of having lost anticipated profits. The regulatory takings clause of the bill will have a deadening effect. Corporates can easily threaten to litigate against any policies that are pro-environment, pro-social, pro-human rights, pro-workers, if they are deemed detrimental to the corporate's profit-taking. And of course, many corporations would like to be free from regulation. That the bill seeks to go a long way down that direction is extremely damaging. For these and other reasons, we ask that the Select Committee recommends the bill's rejection. Kia ora mai tātou.
Thank you, Tim, and Northland Urban Rural Mission for your comprehensive submission. That we don't appear to have any questions, so we'll thank you for your submission, and we'll end there.
Kia ora mai. Thank you very much. Reject the bill.
And I appear to not really have much in terms of commentary either. He pretty much gave a nice summary of why this bill is bad.
Yeah. I think many people have been doing that. It's been absolutely brilliantly easy for them to actually do that, because it's just, it sucks when there's not much you can make commentary over, but again, it just shows how many people are singing the same song sheet.
Yeah, I mean, like, Seymour cannot keep calling people like him and people like me and people like you, like, he can't keep calling us bots. We're not bots. AI isn't that good.
Yep, welcome, Shares. Yep, you see what I mean.
I do it because, okay, answering Shares. I do it because I'm a masochist, and I had to find a way to, use up the rest of my hour and have a break from doing commentary. But now I'm tired. I have to do a lot of driving tomorrow, and I'm like, oh God,
Well, you're
tired. Wellington.
So, yes, you've told me.
I've told you.
Yep, I know who you're visiting.
Yep.
No, and it's going to be a very interesting visit.
Maybe.
Should we just say, a friend of mine is in the dog box?
Yes, well. The friend that shall not be mentioned. Not by me, at least.
But she is literally, the first and 4 letters of the last name of a panelist on this show right now.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. How awkward is that? At least your middle name, Ray, isn't Richard.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to comment on this because I've never met this person. I don't know this person. I don't have a working relationship with this person. I have nothing to do with this person that you're referring to, Sam.
No, whereas you have a good working relationship with Tori.
I haven't actually met Tori in person. Tomorrow probably be the first time, but I've I do stuff within the. Yeah, I do stuff relating to what Tori is involved in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.